You've probably stood in front of one hundreds of times. Maybe checking your phone, maybe fixing your hair, maybe just staring into it. But elevators don't have mirrors for the reason most people think. In fact, the real reason has almost nothing to do with vanity. Elevators are small, enclosed spaces. They're quiet. They don't move very fast. And yet, almost every modern elevator has a mirror. Not just in office buildings. In hotels, apartment blocks, hospitals, even brand new elevators still include them. Which raises a simple question: why?
Most people assume mirrors are there so you can check how you look, or to make the space feel bigger. That sounds reasonable, but if that were the real reason, mirrors wouldn't be so consistent. They wouldn't appear in the same positions, they wouldn't be standard across so many buildings, and they wouldn't be included in places where appearance doesn't matter at all, like hospitals. So the explanation goes deeper. To understand why mirrors exist, you need to understand a problem elevators faced for decades. Not safety, not engineering, but time. Early elevators were slow, much slower than the ones we use today. And people hated waiting inside them. Even if the ride only lasted 30 seconds, it felt much longer. People complained. They felt uncomfortable. Some even felt anxious or claustrophobic. And building owners noticed something important. The problem wasn't the elevator, it was how time was experienced inside it. When people are bored, time stretches. When people are distracted, time shrinks. This isn't subjective opinion, it's psychology. And elevators are the perfect environment for time distortion. You're standing still, there's nothing to do. No view, no control. Every second becomes noticeable. So engineers and designers started asking a different question. Not, how do we make elevators faster? But how do we make them feel faster? Mirrors turned out to be the simplest solution. When people look at themselves, they become distracted. They adjust their posture, they fix their hair, they glance at others, they avoid eye contact. All of this occupies the mind. And when the mind is occupied, time passes faster. Not in reality, but in perception. This single design change reduced complaints dramatically. Same speed, same elevator, different experience. Mirrors do three important things at once. First, they distract. Second, they create the illusion of more space. Third, they reduce awkward social behavior. Without a mirror, people either stare at the floor or feel forced to acknowledge strangers. With a mirror, there's a neutral focus point, something socially acceptable to look at. That alone makes the ride feel easier. Here's where it gets interesting. Mirrors are especially common in hospital elevators. Why? Because hospitals serve patients in wheelchairs. Wheelchairs often face backward inside elevators. Without mirrors, these users would have no visual awareness of what's happening behind them. Mirrors give them orientation. They provide safety. They provide comfort. They provide independence. This is one of the strongest proofs that mirrors aren't just decorative, they are functional. Once mirrors proved effective, they became standard. Building codes didn't always require them, but architects included them anyway. Because they worked. They reduced complaints. They improved user experience. They solved multiple problems with one object. This is what good design looks like. Invisible, efficient, unquestioned. This idea shows up everywhere. Airports use moving walkways instead of faster corridors. Websites use loading animations instead of blank screens. Cars add fake engine sounds to make acceleration feel stronger. In all of these cases, the goal isn't to change reality, it's to change perception. Mirrors in elevators are one of the earliest examples of this principle. Over time, mirrors became normal. People stopped asking why they were there. They became part of the background. That's how most design decisions survive. Not because they're obvious, but because they quietly solve a problem so well that no one notices anymore. So why do elevators have mirrors? Not for vanity, not for decoration, but to make waiting feel shorter, spaces feel safer, and people feel more comfortable. It's a psychological solution disguised as a physical object. And once you see it, you'll notice this pattern everywhere. Next time you're in an elevator, you'll probably catch yourself doing it. Looking into the mirror. Not because you need to, but because it was designed that way.